outspoken community advocates passed away, and I would like us to take a moment of silence to recognize Mr. Redmond's journey in this world. Thank you. All right. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Burke?
Here.
Commissioner Davis?
Here.
Commissioner Taylor?
Here.
Vice Mayor Williams?
Present.
Mayor Pygott?
I'm here. All right. Commissioner Taylor, you want to lead some invocation?
God, we thank you for bringing us together one more time in your name. God, we ask that you come into this meeting that we may do your will for your people. And we also ask you to touch the hearts of the family of our dearly departed brother. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you have any awards, proclamations, or acknowledgements?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we do have one that Vice Mayor will be, along with the commission, will be presenting.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. One of the things as elected officials, we know that we give unselfishly service to others. And I'm so honored to be on this commission who is selfless continually. But at this time, I'm honored to present this certificate to our very own Mayor Matthew Pygott, who has completed the Institute for Elected Municipal Officials, and that would be his second institute. So please give him a hand. And so this certifies that he is not only our leader, but have been to this training twice. So he is in that master level. So we want to thank him for just being our leader and a true leader at that. Thank you.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have any pulls, deletions, or deferrals?
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor?
I would like to pull number 3.
Okay.
Mr.
I'm
Mayor,
sorry, 13-3.
All right. Yes, Commissioner Burke?
I'd like to pull number 1.
All right, 1 and 3. All right, hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Burke, second by Commissioner Taylor. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor? Vice Mayor Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Mayor Pigott,
Yes.
motion passes.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move.
Moved by Commissioner Burke, second by Commissioner Taylor. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Taylor, Vice Mayor Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Pigott,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Do I have a motion to approve the virtual workshop meeting minutes for March 18th, 2021? Moved by Commissioner Taylor,
Second.
second by Commissioner Burke. Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor, Mayor Pigott,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
The motion to approve the special commission meeting minutes for April 29th, 2021,
Move it.
moved by Vice Mayor Williams,
Second.
second by Commissioner Davis. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor, Vice Mayor Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Pigott,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
All right, any reports from District 1 or 2? All right, seeing none. All right, any public presentations?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Madam Clerk, could you introduce citizens forum?
Good evening. City of Opa-locka Commission meetings are held in person at Shabandi Village Auditorium, 215 Purvis Avenue, Opa-locka, Florida. Members of the public wishing to address the commission may do so in person or virtually via Zoom. Those persons wishing to participate virtually should register on the city's website at www.opalockafl.gov. When speaking before the commission, please make sure to give your full name and address for the record. There is a 3-minute time limit for public comments. Please adhere to the decorum policy, which is part of the commission meeting agenda. City commission meetings are aired through live stream at www.youtube.com/users/City of Opa-locka. And at this time, we do have one individual that has registered to speak under citizens forum.
All right. I see, is that Dottie Johnson on the line? Okay, yes. All right. Yes, you can add her in. Ms. Johnson, you have the floor. Ms. Johnson, are you there? All right, if she gets her technology up, I'll open the floor for it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioner. My name is Dottie Johnson. I reside at 13724 Northwest 22nd Place. I have a couple of items that I need some clarification on. First of all, I would like to commend the commission for your events, your smooth transition of now having some events throughout the city. Although I do think the promotion need to be a little earlier and spread a little wider throughout the community. But kudos to those sponsors. I'm also very pleased to see that the sponsorship of the manager's annual job appraisal being voted upon tonight, which I think is very crucial. In addition, I need some clarification. I was on the commission when we bought the consent agenda, but I find it very strange that we have citizen forum, you approve the agenda, and citizen forum is after the approval. Then what is the purpose of citizens or anyone addressing any of the items when it's already voted upon? So I would love that the commission, one of you all or three of you all, really reconsider that format of the agenda so that citizens could come and speak on issues before you vote upon it. Thirdly, I would like to, I can't find the legislation for the cell tower that's in the city by the train station. I can't find any information. And I know in some of our neighboring cities, citizens are concerned because those satellites really echo radiation, which cause cancer and other things. Thirdly, I know the season that we're going into, and I would love for one or three of you all, or all five of you all, to sponsor a legislation so that the city clerk can have a contract. I remember in 2011, 3 got mad with the former clerk and she was no longer employed. I know the season. I've been involved since 1997. And I would love for some of you all to look at that, because you have 3 employees, the clerk, the attorney, and the city manager. Lastly, if my intel is correct, I am so pleased to learn that you all will be getting funds for the police department to have its own building. And I would like to echo through the manager to the commission, to the manager, focus on God, unchanging nature instead of the circumstance. You guys hold your head up high and make the issues happen. We are dependent on you, and may God bless you. Thank you very much.
Citizens forum is open. All right. Citizens forum is closed. Any responses?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Burke?
Mr. Mayor, to the manager, I've been noticing that cell tower going up also in Alabama. What's the story on that?
I would need to give our Public Works and CIP department a check on that. If it's not on our easement or our property, we wouldn't necessarily be doing a contract on it. But I would look at and see if there's permitted work for that to go up. So if it's not on our property, the city wouldn't be the entity that would kind of be overseeing that. We would issue permits.
Wait a minute. I'm saying though. So that means anybody can come in our city, if it's not on city's property, and install a cell tower without the city having no input? I mean, no permits, no nothing?
I said through the permitting process, I can do the research and see about the permits in regards to the tower. That was my answer, Commissioner.
Okay. Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
All right. Citizens forum is closed. Let's move on to our action items. 13.1.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving issuance of a request for proposals, RFP, for financial accounting services, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
Do you have a motion?
Move it for
Moved
discussion.
Moved by Commissioner Burke,
Second for discussion.
second by Commissioner Davis. Mr. Manager, could you introduce this item?
Thank you. This agenda item refers to the RFP that was referenced in Mrs. Zier's contract extension that I was going to bring before the commission at the next commission meeting, which is today. Putting this item out for RFP for 2 options. One, to provide supplemental staff to the finance department with a finance director and staff that are employed by the city of Opa-locka. And the second option, which is the full outsourcing of our finance department by a third-party entity to be contracted by the city.
All right, floor is open for discussion.
Okay,
Commissioner Burke?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Mr. Manager, right now, even if we did hire a finance director, we don't even have enough workers in finance to run our finance department, right?
We do have enough workers in our department to run the finance department. We have 2 vacancies that we need to fill: a senior accountant, a junior accountant, and a finance director. Those are the only 3 vacancies that we currently have within the finance department currently.
Now the second, I know we're supposed to be working on an audit. Is that audit going to be complete before, if we decide to bring in a new accounting services? Is that audit going to be finished by Ms. Lazier before we bring in a new company?
The audit is projected to be finished by the first or second week in June, and our deadline to the state of Florida through JLAC is the end of June. So yes, it will be completed by that time. The RFP won't even be closed out prior to June 30th. So yes, the audit will be completed prior to this even happening. And this matter will be brought before the commission once those individuals put in their application and the appropriate board is met and they grade the applicants.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other
Mr.
discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Davis?
thank you.
The RFP won't even be closed out prior to June 30th. So yes, the audit will be.
Okay, thank you. Through the mayor to the manager, if you could just, I guess, clarify further and expand on the two options. One being the RFP and the option of having supplemental, our staff kind of fill that void and supplement it. And then the third party, which is a full outsourcing of the department. Could you just kind of, I guess, explain in layman terms what that would look like from a day-to-day perspective?
Sure. So the first option, which is supplementing current staff, Opa-locka staffing, that would look like currently what our operations look at currently within our finance department. You will have a mixture of contracted personnel through a third-party contractor and City Opa-locka employees intermingled within the finance department with a finance director at the helm running the finance department that's employed by the City Opa-locka. So you will have the current combination that we have now minus the finance director piece that is still missing. And then the second option is the full finance department being done by a third-party contractor, which means all current City Opa-locka employees will be absorbed by that company, whoever accepts the contract. That is going to be a term of acceptance to absorb our employees and evaluate them appropriately for continuing service with their company. And it would be a full outsource where it would be a contract finance director and full contract staff with no City Opa-locka employees supplementing that staff.
Okay, and if this item is approved, would both options be on the table? Would both options go forward with the RFP?
Yes, so when this goes forward, both items there would be an option for a contractor to put in for. We're going to grade both options. And then at the end of the day, based on the scoring and grading, we'll bring both options before the commission. As I promised, will provide a final recommendation of which option we should go with and go from there. And any time the commission can deviate from that and direct me to another option. But I will make sure I have a full recommendation with analysis on the table on that day.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manager. I'll tell you this, I'm more in favor of option one, putting the RFP out and kind of keeping it in-house. I understand that, it's common practice to outsource things and ultimately with that and privatizing and, managing through the contract, you can really make things more efficient and effective. But I know, both options are on the table and we're going to put the RFP out and ultimately see what comes back. But I know I'm leaning towards option one. Cities are chartered to provide services, so I will always be, an advocate of kind of, making that direct impact. So thank you, Mr. Manager.
Anyone else? Mr. Manager, you say this option one is currently what we have. Like, what's the difference between option one and this RFP and what we currently have now?
So what we currently have now is we have a third-party contractor that is supplementing city staff to do city work. The only difference is we do not have a finance director on District 2 Ms. Lazier's contract, and she's contracted to be the finance director until one is found. But that is not a fully contracted option where 100% of the employees are contracted employees of a different firm. We have Opa-locka, City Opa-locka employees that are employed in the finance department. And we also have contractors that work for Tri-Merge that are intermingled with our employees. So of a hybrid fashion where you have Tri-Merge employees and City Opa-locka employees working together on site.
So option one will basically be the same thing.
Yes,
that we currently
but that would be the City Opa-locka having the finance director on staff. So the finance director wouldn't come from the contractor. The finance director would be an employee of the City of Opa-locka. And what the contractor would do is just provide supplemental staff to supplement our finance staff during periods of audits or any other periods where additional staffing is needed.
Okay, so that's basically what we have now. We
Yes,
have a
sir.
supplement, and then we're also looking for a finance director. Okay, so what is your assessment of the current option that we have in place?
My assessment of the current option in place, I feel personally that we have a very difficult time in recruiting employees, more specifically employees within the finance department. Part of that is competitive wages and various other issues. So I think we have great difficulty in maintaining staffing that are City Opa-locka employees, as well as staffing that may be employees of Tri-Merge based on the hourly rate that's currently being, Ms. Lazier is currently paying. I think with the fully outsourced option, everybody's 100% an employee of that contracted firm. There's less employment related issues tied to that as far as interpreting what to do with a Opa-locka employee compared to a Tri-Merge contracted employee. And there's a lot of nuances there that we have challenges with from time to time. And I've seen many cities in Florida, as well as throughout the United States, fully contract out a finance department with great success. So either option is viable, Mr. Mayor. Again, I would provide my full assessment and recommendation upon the return of the RFPs once they're returned.
So I'm a little confused, concerned. I know we've had Tri-Merged and since 2017, providing supplemental support, which is exactly what we're trying to get a new option. And far as what I've heard so far is that Tri-Merge has been doing a great job. So what will be the difference if we go out and get the same company to do the same thing? And that's the concern that I'm looking at, because they've been in place for 4 years now, and we're still under financial crisis. What's going to prevent us from this happening again for another few years? Like, what do we have in place to make sure that this next contract that we will have, if it's going to be a similar option of supplemental, will actually address the concerns in the finance department?
So first, the reason we're moving in this direction, this has not been formally RFP'd in quite some time. And so typically you have an extended period of time when something has not been RFP'd, best practice is to re-RFP something upon given a long-term contract, which was a recommendation of the governor's designee, instead of doing all these small extensions to Ms. Lazier's contract. That's the first thing. And the second thing, I think with proper controls in place, I think with proper competitive wages, a properly negotiated contract with a higher wage bracket, a longer term contract, and various other factors, I think either solution would be viable. And I'm not saying that we're not fully successful in the solution we currently have, because we are very much successful in the solution that we have now. I just think based on the time of Ms. Lazier's contract, it's time to formally put this back out. And that doesn't mean necessarily that Ms. Lazier is not going to be the company that's chosen again, but we have to see what's out there competitively, and it meets all requirements of our procurement standards, which we, want to make sure that we stay on top of, Mr. Mayor.
So what is the criteria that we need to achieve to get out of this financial emergency? Because this RFP is tied to that very closely. So what is that criteria we need to get out of this financial emergency? And are those terms a part of this contract or this RFP?
It will be a part of the contract. Those terms will be negotiated as part of the contract. And as far as what is required to come out of RFP, that's subjective in nature. We do have the agreement that we have from the governor's office that states that we have to show that we're financially stable and meet various specifications based on that agreement. But what I've been told is we have to have so many years of clean audits. The number of years of clean audits to get out of financial emergency is subjective because there's other factors that are tied into that as well. A proper cash balance, proper reserves in place, and various other factors that are determined by the governor's designee. I don't see the city staying in financial oversight additional 5 years. That's not the projection that I've been provided, that it'll be 5 years from the date of our 5-year plan being approved, which is last year. We've been told more of a 3 to 4 year time frame, as long as we have proper audits to show that we're financially stable. And again, our fund balance and our savings are a place that shows the city can be financially independent. We have proper financial controls in place to ensure that the city is able to manage their finances in a way that they will not meet the conditions again to go back into financial emergency. And then several others that are highlighted within the agreement. I'm just providing some.
So, because I've been on this dais for a few years and we've been with Tri-Merge for a while and we see the work that they're doing. Back in February 2019, Tri-Merge did an assessment of our finance department and clearly spoke about the need to update our policies and procedures manual, the need for more staff to handle audit and reconciliations. They proposed different options for staffing of the department. And one of the key things was better management of all the departments throughout the city to lessen the delays in postings and payments to vendors. And it sounds like we still have those same problems now. And with this new company coming in, I'm not seeing the terms in this that reflect the addressing of those same issues. So I'm personally a little unclear about how this will actually make sure that we get out of this financial crisis. And I'm concerned about getting both these options. Like we've had one option before. I think you've been proposing, I guess, contracting out this finance since you kind of got here, right?
Are you making a statement? Is that a question?
Oh, well, so when did you first propose contracting out this finance department, Mr. Manager?
So upon my getting here, I looked at the finance department and my initial assessment was to do potentially a full contracting out of the finance department. I was told that I just got here to wait a year and get acclimated and observe the finance department with my own will or my own observation prior to making such a great step, which that year has passed. And then kind of go back to the statement you made. I don't agree that we're in the same financial conditions. I don't feel that the finance department is in the same conditions in that early 2019 report that was drafted for the manager, Newell Daltrey. I don't believe that we're in the same situation. I think there are financial controls in place. I think there have been policies and procedures drafted by the finance department through Ms. Luzier's leadership. I believe she's implemented some of the planning in there. Part of it is budgetary situations. Part of it is getting a permanent finance director in place to allow that person to look at those recommendations, see, to work hand in hand with Ms. Lazier in the transition, to see if those recommendations are ones to follow. We have hired the appropriate staff, and we've lost staff in result of attrition. I would not say that we are in that same level of specification as you identified in early 2019.
So then the other question is, outside of this RFP, what other actions are going to be taken to address the issues identified in that assessment, and also make sure that we are going to get out of this financial crisis in the next few years?
So first, any action that the city takes in regards to the city's finances is being monitored by the governor's designee and is approved by the governor's designee. So that is being very closely monitored by that entity and the Financial Emergency Board. So that's the first thing. So there are checks and balances in place in regards to that. Any contract that is done upon this RFP being done, any contract that is done has to come before this body for approval. And if additional specifications need to be added, such as specifications that were placed in the early 2019 memorandum that you feel or anybody on the commission feels need to be included within that contractual agreement, can be done. And in the contract, as well as the specifications of the contract, has to be reviewed by the governor's designee for final approval. And they will make recommendations for any additions or subtractions of that agreement as far as anything that they feel is needed to move us out of financial emergency.
Yeah, I didn't hear the answer to my question. I heard the governor designee approval, but okay, not gonna beat the dead horse. All right, any other comments or questions on this?
Mr. Mayor,
Madam Vice Mayor?
I have a quick question to the manager. I'm thinking about option 1 and option 2. Does any particular option have a kind of a plus or minus effect to the budget?
So I would not be able to give you a budgetary affirmative answer to that until I see the numbers come in RFP and see what the dollar amounts are actually being presented by those that are putting in for it. And then at that point, myself and Mr. Anathan would be able to provide a proper financial impact to the commission and let you know which option is either more advantageous than the other.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Burke?
you mentioned one thing. I think when we came in, I think Tri-Merge was supposed to have been doing policies and procedures also for the finance department. I have yet to see any policies and procedures from the finance department. Mr. Manager, can you speak on that, please?
Mr. Commissioner Burke, policies and procedures have been done for the finance department, and I will ensure that Ms. Lazier makes appropriate copies and that the commission gets copies of those, because we're going through operational audit now. There are a lot of findings in regard that required financial controls to be in place, as well as financial policies and procedures. And I know for a fact they were done, so I will make sure that you guys get them.
Could we please see them, please? Thank you, Mr.
No
Mayor.
problem.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Taylor?
quick question to the manager. Well, Vice Mayor asked a question that I wanted to know, but do we have any applicants for a finance director right now in regards to option 1?
Yes, we have applicants in the pipeline that we're currently reviewing, and we'll be conducting interviews as we have been doing.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, a follow-up. So why haven't we been able to staff the finance department? It sounds like a reoccurring thing with HR and recruitment and getting people that are willing to be here. And we've heard a lot about, oh, the pay. Well, we haven't seen a payment plan to address that. And we've had a finance department in the past fully staffed. So what is it? What's going on? Because if we do option one, we'll still need to have someone recruited for finance director and also these other positions. So what is going on, and how is that going to be addressed before this contract gets approved, so that when this new company or whoever comes on, they have the support of the government and the right people in place to move forward?
The city manager's office continuously reviews processes in regards to the recruitment process of finance employees and make appropriate adjustments at that time. And based on that, we will continue to recruit for employees and staff, and upon staff qualifying for the position, extend their appropriate employment and staff the positions appropriately. Thank you.
That didn't sound like an answer. Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next item, 13.3.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving a mutually agreed upon amendment to the employment agreement between City Manager John E. Pate and the City of Opa-locka, providing for a corporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the City Manager and Vice Mayor Williams.
You have a motion?
Move it for discussion.
Moved by Commissioner Burke,
Second.
second by Commissioner Taylor. Mr. Manager, Madam Vice Mayor, you want to introduce the item?
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, I wanted to just present a little background as to how and why this item was brought to us today. It is my thought process that in order for us as a city to be as effective as we can, there must be top-down leadership. And top-down leadership, we must be an example and show everyone that we ready to lead and are leaders at nature. I did have a conversation with the city manager after some recent events about bringing this item forward. We had a few conversations in time. Mr. Pate mutually agreed. And what I would like to say, however, because I do think that we are all in agreement that evaluation, not only of our city manager, but evaluations of all employees. And I think everyone has heard me say that a few times. But I am thankful that our city manager, Mr. Pate, has mutually agreed to extend his contract so that we as a commission can come up with a tool to evaluate him and the work that he does. Now, before we discuss it, I would, however, like to also present that on Monday's priority meeting, that we discussed a tool to be used, not just tools that have been edited or deleted. I did provide an email with several tools. I will, however, Monday present a PowerPoint of my thinking, and I hope that we all have ideas so that we can create a objective but not subjective tool to be used, so that in these 90 days, we can objectively evaluate the city manager on the work that he does. But we can also talk about that Monday. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Burke?
Madam Vice Mayor, I think you said to extend his contract, but would you mean in an extended time allotted to do the evaluation?
That is correct. So I have asked for a 90-day extension. As we know, according to the contract, the evaluation was up April 30th, and we were out of time to do the evaluation because for whatever reason. So again, Mr. Pate has mutually agreed that we extend a 90-day window so that we can effectively observe and also have these conversations. And within those 90 days, we create, again, a tool, an effective tool to be used so that we can provide feedback and priorities moving forward.
Madam Vice Mayor, that 90 days is supposed to commence from this date?
Madam Attorney?
Yes, Commissioner, it would commence from the date of passage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Davis?
thank you. I just have a question, I guess related to the item and ultimately how it kind of made its way to the agenda. I'm under the impression that we do have an ordinance in place that was passed in September of 2020 that pretty much provides for any future agenda items to be presented for the board, and then it goes through that process. Now, I understand that this item, I guess, was voted on prior by the prior commission, and it was sponsored actually by Commissioner Bass, who was out in the audience. And we also supported this item. But just help me understand why, I guess, this particular item hasn't followed that channel. I guess that's a question through the mayor to the attorney.
Madam Attorney?
Yes, Commissioner, this item is jointly sponsored by the city manager. If it had not been jointly sponsored by the city manager, it would have been a future agenda item for your consideration, which would have been brought by Vice Mayor, and then you all would have had to consider it on a future agenda item.
Okay, so if an item if it's co-sponsored by the manager, we can bypass, I guess, the path that we set forward in the ordinance that was passed?
Well, like I said, if the ordinance would have applied, so if the manager apparently mutually agreed upon, that's how it was brought to legal as a mutually agreed upon item. And because of that, the Vice Mayor wanted to be added as a sponsor of it, but basically it's just basically adding her name. Really,
Okay.
it's kind of being brought as the manager's item, but it's a mutually agreed upon item, and so therefore her name is added as well as the manager's, and that's how it's brought to you tonight.
Okay, I understand. All right, thank you for that point of clarification.
Anyone else? Commissioner Davis, I echo your concerns about bypassing our ordinances if we are able to convince the manager to sponsor an item. But Mr. Manager, could you provide some insight into how this proposal was presented about extending your evaluation? Like, how was this first proposed?
It was proposed based on what the Vice Mayor stated, Mr. Mayor.
Was this before or after we had a conversation where you proposed this to me?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Monday, prior to Thursday of the special meeting, while I was pleading for my job and asking for you not to hold a special meeting on Thursday, I asked you to extend my evaluation period, and you told me no, that you would not do that. So after the meeting occurred, the vice mayor contacted me, stated some leadership principles that I agreed with about me being evaluated, and that the commission still should have the opportunity to evaluate me regardless if you did not agree to extend that period or not. And we agreed for this to be agenda item, at which time she sent an email to the city attorney requesting her to draft the agenda item, and that it was mutually agreed, as she stated.
And during that call, you were apologizing at that time for your actions that violated your contract. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not going to speak on that at all whatsoever. And I think it's appalling that you even try to gauge or even bring up that type of dialogue. I answered the direct question you provided, and that question is answered. And that question that you stated is subjective in nature, and I feel is harassing in nature, and I will not answer, sir.
Bring that up to bring to light. During the last special commission meeting, brought information that presented evidence that the city manager violated his contract with this city. And during that time, the manager, we had a conversation. This was our fourth conversation we've had to have with the presence of our attorney to address habits of behavior that has been detrimental to the city of Opa-locka. And during that conversation, this evaluation item was presented. And at the time, because of the egregious nature of the violations of his contract, I did not agree to it. So to now see this item up here as an agenda item that doesn't address those violations, I'm very concerned. Very concerned. And if we are here as a commission to sit back and be silent on the violations of the city manager's contract, how does extending this evaluation period address those? That's that question.
Mr.
Is to the
Mayor.
sponsor.
Thank you. Let me say that one of the layers that was missed before it went to an extreme nature was an evaluation. For several weeks, i.e. months, we discussed priorities, be it on the dais or during committee meetings. Never once did we talk about evaluations. We never followed a chain of command. The command went straight to one person to do what that person felt that they needed to do for themselves. Me being a true leader in nature, I know, and I can tell you from experience, you cannot or should not go to an extreme nature without conducting or following a path of evaluation, period. And I think anyone that has been in leadership position knows I would have been glad last commission meeting to have said that, but that's not what I was offered. I heard a statement and we were adjourned. And I would have been happy to give my position at the last commission meeting. So if there's any issues, please take it up. Please do not take it up with our city manager, because it appears to me that the issue is personal. And if it is personal, I'm not making it personal because we all need to be evaluated. I am evaluated on my job and I evaluate others on theirs. Our city manager, be it how it came, we can get in our feelings how it came, he needs to be evaluated. Feedback needs to be provided, be it good, bad, or indifferent. That's the path that should have been taken. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Burke?
Mr. Mayor, you said several times that there were several violations that the manager did on his contract. What did those violations came? I have yet to see a violation that the city manager has caused. I have no violations, and I've never been abreast of any violations. And now you're saying that he's violated his contract. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, I will pull up the agenda packet at our special commission meeting that we had last week. Those violations are based upon certain sections. And the reason why, number one, Madam Vice Mayor, we did talk about evaluations a few times during our meetings beforehand. Actually, our last meeting before the contract ended, I mentioned during our priorities workshop that we have to submit our evaluations of the manager. But in particular, in the city manager's contract, let's go down, hold on.
Why are you looking for that, Mr. Mayor? And why weren't, if there were some violations, why weren't they forwarded to the commission?
So
Why didn't the commission, the full commission, get to see these violations? Because I'm sitting here, I haven't seen any violations. I don't think anybody else have. And you're the only one that have the violations. Why have they not been forwarded to the commission?
all right. If you reviewed the agenda packet that was part of the supporting documentation during the special commission meeting on April 29th, this is publicly available online in our agenda packet. You will see details, and matter of fact,
Mr. Mayor, that should have been forwarded to us before a special meeting.
Oh.
If things like this are happening, the full commission needs to know about it. If you're having a problem with something, you need to appraise the full commission of it, not try to take care of it by yourself. If we're going to be a team, we need to be a team. If you're having a problem, we're all having a problem.
very
But
true.
you can't wait till it's all out there and you don't try to handle it. I don't know about it. The vice mayor don't know about it. Davis don't know about it. Taylor don't know about it. But I'm just saying, you have supporting documentation now, but I'm saying this should have been fair to us as it was happening, Mr. Mayor. And I'm just saying, in the future, this is what needs to be done. If I have a problem, I forward it to the full commission. And so be it with everybody else. Let's not wait to the last minute and then say, well, I got all of these violations that the city manager did, and I don't know about it. The vice mayor don't know about it. Nobody else, but you know about it. As it was happening, you should have been forwarding it to the commission. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Madam Clerk, was the agenda packet with supporting documentation provided to everyone?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, all right. So wasn't able to, unfortunately, due to sunshine, we are only able to speak about these items during these public settings. And as I stated at the last commission meeting, I was presenting some evidence for the next day for the termination, and clearly laid out a few items in terms of what was the challenges. And I will have no problem going through that information that we currently have, that details our powers as a commission, the city manager, prohibitions, and the standards of conduct, and also the employment agreement with the city manager, John Pate. And one of the items that we have on our standards of conduct that all officials, elected representatives of the commission have is to be very clear about false accusations that are being made and being honest and respectful in terms of duties and honesty. In looking at the city manager's contract, if we go to the evaluation section, it does say that we must evaluate the manager. And we have a period to do that in his evaluation between, in section 5B, between March 1st and April 30th. That is different from the section about termination for cause. And the reason why those things are separate, the evaluation does not tie directly to the details for termination. We can terminate the manager under two things: without cause for whatever reason on this dais, which will incur a significant cost on the city, and termination for cause, which is based upon a willful disregard of direct order, willful violations of provisions of the law, conduct unbecoming of a public employee, and other items. And when starting, I guess, last year, the manager, which was copied to almost everyone on this day, it started to make very false accusations. And these false accusations pointed to that the mayor, an elected official, was interfering with day-to-day. These are the same false accusations that he has since apologized for. But if you look at these items, you will clearly see the manager making false accusations to consultants, to citizens, to the rest of this commission, in natures that are just completely unbecoming of a public employee. Not only that, after investigation, these false accusations started after an inquiry into the manager's leave time. And many of us have sat here in these meetings while the manager has not showed up to meetings. We've heard GPS signals in meetings, ordering food, and all these things happening and missing these meetings here as a commission. And this is on the extreme level. These commission meetings are our time to address the citizens' issues. But these meetings weren't the only meetings that are being missed. Individual meetings have with the county, with other representatives, and those things were not being addressed. So after an inquiry into the manager's leave time, I found instances where the manager said he was out sick and not letting us know and not inputting those sick days. And those things qualify for conduct unbecoming of a city employee. That is much more. That is a symptom of a larger issue that we even see today on this agenda. In terms of our finance department, evaluation of our code enforcement department, the evaluation of HR. These are all issues that have been neglected by our manager. And if we do not do something about this, then it continues to delay the progress that we need to make as a city to get out of this financial crisis, to face our challenges, and it continues to create the same conditions that every day we as citizens have to deal with. I'm not fond of this trash that's out in this community, not fond of the bus benches, not fond of all these things that are going on, and the only person we have to hold accountable is our manager. And
Mr.
we've all
Mayor.
seen the evidence of that's not happening.
Mr.
Madam, go. We do.
Mr. Mayor,
So-
Mr. Mayor, this is not an agenda item.
It is.
This is consent. This is not an agenda item. I'm not sure why you're trying to. We're talking about an evaluation, period. Period. And you're trying to bring back and try the case again. And we are talking about a consent item about an evaluation. I'm in shock right now that you're sitting here to try this case.
We are in the Sunshine Commission. And as Commissioner Burke mentioned, you say you wanted to hear these items, so I laid them out. Unfortunately, during the meeting, special commission meeting, where we're supposed to discuss this, it was never an opportunity to even discuss these items. This has been multiple times in which these items have been brought up, and there's been silence from this commission. And we're just supposed to sit here and not say anything. There are plenty of people, employees, others that are witnessing this happening. And as us, where the buck stops at here, for us to be silent when everybody else can sit in these meetings and have to come to these meetings, but our manager doesn't. And we are silent.
Mr. Mayor,
That is a problem.
that is incorrect. That is incorrect. I am not silent. I will yield my time to the city manager so that he can tell you how unsilent I've been. But the way I operate, I don't come to the dais to try to embarrass anyone. If I want to push, pull, or tell him how he needs to do better, trust and believe when I tell you, I get on him. So please don't make that accusation that we're not, but I don't, because we don't do what you want us to do. That's not that, no.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, can we
Mr.
please
Mayor.
call for the vote?
Yeah, because this conversation is
Yeah,
extremely counterproductive, and we're
Let's-
literally going backwards.
let's
So
please
we're
call
gonna
for
move
the
forward
vote.
as a city. We gotta move forward. But dwelling on this topic, and it wasn't even the topic of discussion. We were talking about his evaluation, and we went and started talking about him being fired. It's counterproductive. So I'm like Commissioner Burke. There's motion to call the question. Move forward.
You have a motion to call the question? Fails for lack of second. At the moment, this has been the only time I've been able to speak on these items.
Wait a minute, Mr. Mayor.
Wait,
a minute.
hold
You
on.
just- wait a minute.
I'll
What
conclude
just
after
failed-
this.
What just
I will
failed for
conclude
lack
after
of
this.
second?
I will
What just-
conclude after this
I'm
statement.
sorry, Mr.
I'll
Mayor.
conclude after this statement, all right?
I did a call for the vote,
Okay?
and you seconded. So how did it fail for a second? I did a call for the vote. Commissioner Taylor seconded. How did it fail?
We're beating a dead horse. We gotta move on, man. The city gotta move. And we're not gonna move by dwelling on the manager. We have work to do. This doesn't help the situation. Please.
The manager is our leader of our day-to-day operations. And if there's issues there, then that needs to be addressed. Simple as that. And unfortunately, this is the only time they've been able to give opportunity to speak on these things. And we're presenting information. And it's still the same thing. Stay silent. Don't speak. Don't let what's going on behind these scenes come to light. And this is not cool. Like, no, you don't threaten someone with a misdemeanor criminal charge. The mayor of this city. That is a problem. And if everyone thinks that's okay, that's, no. If that happened to any one of you on here, I'll be the first to step up. The last ex-cop that did something like that, playing like the shadow mayor, had to be removed from this city and currently locked up. So this challenge of playing behind the scenes needs to stop. And I'm not going to sit here and be silent. Nobody's going to silence me when it comes to this. This is an issue that cannot be just pushed to the side by evaluation. This is an issue that needs to be addressed. And I've been asking for my colleagues, and I've been silent and asked them to step up, and for it not to, that is a problem.
Mr. Mayor, I have a
And I'm
question.
not gonna sit here. So after that, we can pass this
No, I
and
have a
move it
question,
forward.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner, Vice Mayor Williams.
I do know that there's two sides to every story, and I hear you, and you want to share that story. My question to you, if you feel like we're being silent, what is it that it appears as if the only resolution to what you want for us to do is to fire. That's it. Now, I can sit here all day and night and scold Mr. Pate, as I have done behind the scenes. But you know what? I have told Mr. Pate on several occasions about his attendance. Is that correct, Mr. Pate?
That's correct.
I've told Mr. Pate on several occasions about his tone, the way he talks to you, the way his mannerisms are. But I guess you want us to bring this out to everyone, so I'll do that if that's going to make it all right. Unbeknownst to yourself, we do have your back. But you want us to just fall in line with what you want us to do. And that is not going to happen tonight.
No, ma'am.
Not tonight. We're not saying an evaluation is going to solve it. Honestly, I do feel bad that you were not able to lay out everything that you put together. Did I not tell you that, Mr. Pate?
Yes, Madam Vice Mayor.
I told Mr. Pate that night he should have got it. But I'm just saying, he's not going to be fired tonight. We're talking about an evaluation. That is not sweeping anything under the rug. But we missed the deadline. We talked about everything else. We received a tool. Old commission was white out and our names were thrown in it and it was use this. No, that's not how I operate. I'm going to put together with my colleagues a tool that we all agree on, not just one person giving us a tool, but we're all in agreement on, so that we can also provide feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. And I also would like for us to, in that tool, present a self-reflection for Mr. Pate himself. to reflect on his skills as a leader of this city. But that's what we, all 5 of us, should put together, not just be given. And quite frankly, I was insulted when I received an email that removed from a tool from 2015 that removed an old commission and put our names on there. Insulted. That's not how I operate. And eventually in time, everybody's going to learn how I operate.
Madam Vice Mayor, I understand your passion and where you are in regards to this, and you being on this dais and having those conversations. The same conversations you've had over these past few months, I've had for over the past year. And it hasn't been until this meeting and the meeting before last where this has been brought out into the public. So for over a year, we've had these conversations about these things. And it's evidence, as you see in those emails and documentation. It's been there. So this isn't something new. Second of all, the evaluation was discussed by a prior commission. That tool is what was on hand. That is the tool that is the evaluation tool for this city. Yes, I'm completely open to changing it and modifying it. And I'm glad that you brought that up, and I saw their documentation for that, and I appreciate and I respect that. So we're okay with that. But also to say that try and push it into this is something that I just want to do, I can't do nothing alone in this city. Nothing. I'm a member of this 1 out of 5 votes. What was presented during that commission meeting were 3 different options. Only one was for termination. And the reason why I say termination, because that means termination for cause. That is not a cost to the city. That's the only reason, because we literally have the evidence for termination for cause. However, there was another option to suspend with an investigation, so we can get a third-party HR firm to come in and investigate and verify this information. And then the last option was literally similar to this option. When I spoke to Mr. Payton, I said, no, the last option we had on the special commission meeting was to amend his contract. And the reason why I left it blank is for us to have that conversation. I know Mr. Payton was going to go around and talk to people about what he would like to do in regards to that. That's why that was on this last agenda. So we had the option to do a similar amendment. So this wasn't me just focusing on, just terminate. That's not the case. But at the very least, I have to do my due diligence as a elected representative of the people who found information, have seen a pattern over the past year and a half. And trust me, I was the one who was negotiated the man's contract. I made that mistake, and I'm owning up to that. I've been sitting here watching this over the past year. This isn't something that just happened just out of nowhere. It's been going on for a while. So I presented this information for us to discuss. And yes, it does. It's unnerving when there was an opportunity to actually just discuss it, find out what we can do. So look, if we're talking about going through this evaluation process, and we're going to talk about this, but I would not let us just pass by the evidence that we have for termination for cause. We can do evaluation. We can talk about performance plan. I'm A-okay with that. But we also need to look at that information, consider that, and think about this picture of this city. Because not showing up, the disrespect is reflected outside to our partners, to citizens, to people that we help with. one of the reasons why I put it on the item, I literally got a call from Congress about this item. I mean, about challenges with communication with our manager. And when I asked the manager to reply, he accused me again of interfering day to day. So every time when I asked for a vaccination site, trying to coordinate, make sure we had a vaccination site involved with day to day, those type of things causes a lot of not good relationships. And those are the things that we need to at least look at, recognize, and put into whatever decision this commission wants to make. As long as we do that, I'm good. But I want to make sure that I present that information to everyone so that y'all know what's going on. And this stuff is just not behind the scenes. And everybody just silent while our partners, our employees, and everybody see this and we don't say anything. So that's why I put this out there. I may not be the most eloquent person in getting this stuff done, but I got to be real with y'all and let you know what's up. And that's what I'm doing. So with that, if there's any other further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, all that you said, you could just put that in your evaluation. You could just put that in your evaluation. Can we call for the vote?
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor Williams?
so just to, I'm going to get there, Commissioner Burke. Just to clarify, I find it laughable that colleagues question how the item came and not the why. See, this is the issue that we continue to have. We don't look at the global, the big picture. Who, how this item, we did. But yet and still, our city manager would not have had an evaluation because it ended April 30th. Yet and still, Mr. Pate, our city manager, would have gone an entire year, April 30th of 2022, before we can evaluate him again, which was nonsense. But this works for us and this works for him. But we're questioning who brought it, how it got here. This is the issue.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Davis?
thank you. The reason I haven't been as vocal on this issue as much as my colleagues is because I respect the right of us as individual bosses to the manager to manage him, to respect him, and to encourage him to carry out the wishes of our community and the electors who put us in place. The reason I question why the item was done in that way is because never have we seen a commission item come from the manager's office and not be vetted by the commission. Now, I'm all in favor of giving the manager a 30, 60, 90, whatever, 120 days for all I care. When we first were elected, our very first commission meeting, you know, what was on the agenda was to fire a city manager. And since that time, we have never evaluated a city manager. That's not, in my opinion, that's not becoming of the city. That's not what leadership looks like. In many ways, the manager, he sets the example for his employees. So, I was never, not supportive of the evaluation process. But I think as individuals, the mayor, he reserves his right to manage the manager. I reserve my right to manage a manager how I want to manage them. Vice Mayor reserves her right, Commissioner Taylor and Burke, the same. And I don't think it's any of our job to get in the way of that. Now, in many ways, while we might not agree with what the mayor says or what the manager says, either way, that's his right. He was elected duly, just like the rest of the four of us that are sitting up here. So, while we might not agree, you have to respect it. Just like I would want him to respect my, the way I manage the manager and, my wishes. So, I'm just saying my piece why I never got involved, but it's his prerogative. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Mr. Manager?
Madam Vice Mayor, first, thank you for suggesting this matter be placed on the agenda. As I have told you, and I'll say in public, I am fully supportive of being evaluated by this body in a fair and non-subjective manner. But what I will say is, I am still very much concerned of the intent of some on this commission. And that does bring me at pause. As I've stated, I am attempting to move beyond the last month, 2 months, 1 year, 1.5 years. And the first step is to open up my evaluation process for extension. But I am very cautiously optimistic in regards to the intent of some up here. As openly stated, we thought Thursday was over and beyond us, and the mayor clearly stated his case and continuously and basically stated he still desires me not to be the city manager of this city, and he still desires to move forward whatever intent or whatever manner he will to come after me and my employment and my terms of employment of this city. And I would hope by mutually agreeing for my evaluation to be done, that I'm not opening myself up for any future scrutiny. And I hope that this evaluation evaluation is done fair, that is done objectively and not subjectively, and is done fairly and in accordance with the entire commission's will. Thank you.
Quick question, Mr. Manager. If we develop a new protocol, will that protocol be applied to what term of your contract?
That's a question for the city attorney.
Madam Attorney?
The term of the contract is the same. The only thing that's changing is what you see in front of you that would be the underlined areas, but the rest of the contract is the same. So the term ends when the term ended before.
So if we develop a new protocol that highlights areas in which the manager was not aware of, is he still subjected to being evaluated in those areas?
I'm not quite sure if I understand your question, but what the manager is agreeing to is a 90-day extension to evaluate him. And so what you would want to do is to come up with whatever tool you're going to use as quickly as possible so that you can then have the time to first have him know what you're going to evaluate him on, and then have time to evaluate him within that 90-day period. But in terms of when it ends, the contract ends at the same date that it always ended. That's not changed. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's.
Yeah. So one of the concerns that I have with proposing this evaluation new tool is that if we propose this tool, it sounds like that the term evaluation would just be that 90 days and not our time here as elected officials and this contract. So that's the intent of the question is how long is it going to take us to develop this evaluation protocols to get it passed as something that is official And then once it's official, how much time from that point is that tool going to be used to evaluate the manager? Is it the time in which the tool passes? Or will it reflect upon this past behavior? And my concern is that if we develop a new tool, then it will not be applied to past behavior, which the current tool we have can be. And that gets around this process. And that's my concern. So can someone address that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So we all were elected at different times throughout. So when you say past behavior, that's 5 months for me.
Mhm.
So the reality of it is it ended April 30th. It ended without a thorough discussion by all 5 of us, without what tool we're going to use. If you read the tool that was sent to us, it's outdated. It doesn't apply to today's standards. So that's why me, and let me say before last Thursday's meeting, the minute that the tool was emailed to me, I thought it to be it was subpar, to say the least. So regardless of everything that transacted between last week or the months before, prior to that, that tool is subpar in nature. It is outdated. The wording does not coincide with what cities have now. So that is why I did the research to go get other tools from other cities. I can't remember, it might have been about 10. I don't know how many I sent, but it was a zip drive with a number of recent tools that are being used in other municipalities, not just in Dade, but also in Broward. And the goal that my plan, my thinking, and hopefully we all can agree, is that we look at the old tool and take a look at some of the new tools and create an efficient tool together. So we can have this conversation Monday, and I will present, like I said, via PowerPoint or Prezi presentation, but I will present those tools and take out those specific questions that I think we should look at. But again, it's going to be all of us, one commission that is going to decide what we like, what we don't like, what could be subjective, what's not subjective. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I can't go on the past because my past is 5 months.
Will this new tool be used as an evaluation for you to evaluate the manager based upon these new guidelines over the past 5 months that you've been here?
This new tool is going to start after April 30th when we forfeited his evaluation.
So that means we will only evaluate the manager from May 1st until July 29th.
This is the board.
Is that what I'm hearing?
This is.
Well,
However, again, this is Monday. Monday's conversation. I'm not planning to have it now, but Monday having this particular conversation.
But if we pass this amendment to his contract now, this specifically says extending the evaluation period to July 29th, 2021. So, which means that evaluation period, and you're talking about also doing a new tool. So will that new tool be used to evaluate what time period? That's the question I have on the floor. Can someone answer that question? What time period will this new tool be used to evaluate the manager?
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Taylor.
Okay. The tool, from what I'm gathering, you can evaluate him from the time period of which you want. This is just extending 90 days from the time that we missed, the deadline that we missed. So we're just going back, we're just, I guess, righting it wrong, if you will, because we missed the deadline. So you can evaluate him from whenever you want it to, whenever you want to. Like for me, like Vice Mayor said, I can only go back from 5 months, because that's when I met him. You have a different timeline than I do. So, but I think we're getting mixed up when it comes down to the evaluation period and the tool. She's not saying that I want to replace the tool and only evaluate him from the last 90 days. She's saying I want to take the old tool that we have, replace it with a new tool, and with that tool, use that to evaluate him on how we feel about him, if you will. Am I, to the Vice Mayor, is that in layman's terms what you were saying?
Through the attorney.
Yes, Vice Mayor, Commissioner, I'm looking at, if you look at section 5, it talks about B. It talks about beginning in 2020, as determined by the commission, the commission shall review and evaluate the performance of the manager at least once every fiscal year between March 1st and the immediately following April 30th. And so with that said, what this resolution does is it extends that April 30th date another 90 days for the evaluation to take place. And therefore, it would include previous times before that, but plus the extension of the 90 days. Does that make sense? So I think your question, I guess, as to whether you can go back before that time would be yes, based on the reading of the language of his contract. It just extends that time to go backward.
Got it. And a new tool won't affect the setting certain expectations. So that wouldn't
Here's
change
the
anything.
issue. Here's the issue, Mr. Mayor. You have to tell the manager what you're evaluating him on. You know, he deserves to know. And so that's what this, I guess, this new tool would do. It would tell you what you're evaluating him on. And based on that, you know, and I'm assuming you're going to have some conversation with the manager to do that, you know, I'm thinking that you all, if you're going to be fair with him, you'll have some, you know, discussion with him about categories and things, and then that would be a part of the tool that you would select based on conversations that you have with the manager. And then with that, then that's what you evaluate him on. But I think the first thing you would want to do is to make sure that the manager has a clear understanding of what he's being evaluated on, and that you all start from a place of agreement with this is the tool, and manager, and even allow, you know, in some cases, the managers are given an opportunity to do a self-evaluation so that they can then respond to some of the things that you would be evaluating. So it's, you know, that gives the manager a chance to put on paper some things that you may not know.
Sounds good. Okay, so if we develop this new tool, it will extend for the prior period, and the manager will be told what he's going to be evaluated on, and we can evaluate him on those things during the past year of his time here. Is that what I'm hearing, Madam Attorney?
This is what the manager's shaking his head, so I would want to make sure that the manager is even on board. But the issue is, I mean, it's extending the time period. You all should have had, I guess, in place some clarity about what you were evaluating him on. So there are some things, I guess, minimally maybe in the contract that may speak to that. But outside of whatever may be in the contract, you know, you need to have some clear standards. And so I think Monday probably offers an opportunity to have that discussion in your workshop with the manager about, you know, what that tool would look like and what you'll be evaluating him on. But he, you know, I would hate to state what my thought is, and then if the manager's not on board, you know, have that be the subject of some type of litigation issue. So If you allow,
Exactly.
And that's the key point that I wanted to make, is that right now, if we develop this new tool, is there a legal case where the manager can say, y'all just developed this tool and you evaluated with me using this particular tool, and
yeah,
the tool is null and void.
that's why I'm
And
saying,
that's my concern.
that's why I'm saying, Mr. Mayor, that you want to have some buy-in from the manager as to what you're evaluating him on, so everybody's on the same page, and even how, how that evaluation extends. Because like I said, based on the reading of the contract, it's just extending it 90 days going backwards. But, I would think that you want to have some more clarity, and probably this meeting is not the appropriate place under this item. But certainly, the manager's bringing this forward, mutually agreeing to it. So maybe you want to ask him, I hate to put him on the spot, but maybe you want to ask him what he perceives and whether he sees something different than what has been stated.
Mr. Manager?
So the key is, as I discussed with the vice mayor, any evaluation process, anytime there's a change in tool, and this is even for my union employees, this is for my directors, it has to be a mutually common discussion that there is a change of standards. I agreed for my evaluation period to be moved in the hopes that the tool will be changed, and that whatever tool is used, that is mutually agreed by myself and the commission on the tool that's being used for my evaluation. And that the period of evaluation is from May 1st of last year until July 29th of this year. But again, the key word is mutually agreed in regards to the tool and what I'm being evaluated on. And again, as I stated, I'm cautiously optimistic in regards to the matter, just based on what I'm hearing on the dais tonight. Because I want to be evaluated, I want to be evaluated fairly. I agreed to do this for transparency, but if this turns into something that is not advantageous, then that's a problem. So I would hope that whatever tool, as the city attorney stated, is selected, that's a mutually agreed upon what I'm being evaluated on. And not this is, because based on what the mayor is saying, it sounds more of a, oh, we're going to evaluate on this and this is what we're going to evaluate on you on, and you have no choice, because that's the term, basic verbiage.
Mr. Manager, that's not what's being said.
No,
So
that-
he's one
that is-
person.
Exactly.
So I just want to, just
And I never
for
said
sake
that.
of any problem later, I'm just
Well-
trying to look out in the future, you all.
Well-
So I hear what the manager's saying, but the mayor is one vote, one person, right? So, I
Exactly. And I have a right as a elected official to provide my thoughts and my views, period. Like, it's my truth, my thoughts, my perspective, and I want to share that with my colleagues. Simple as that. So when I had the concern about this new tool and its evaluation period, those things have been addressed. I look forward for this conversation so that we can do our due diligence in evaluating this manager and his performance on behalf of the people in the city of Opa-locka. So with that, if there's any other discussion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, Mayor Pygott,
No.
motion passes 3-1.
All right. Mr. Manager, your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Speaking on behalf of our residents in the great city of Opa-locka, I am very, very excited to say that we had an outstanding legislative session. And both our state representative and state senator really represented the city of Opa-locka in an outstanding way in getting us funding, at least for the first phase of our new police department, senior programs, park and recreational programs. Very, very much excited. And I want to thank also the Congresswoman Frederica Wilson for working on behalf of the citizens of Opa-locka to work on getting funding for our Shot Spotter program for the city. These are outstanding achievements that would not have been able to be done without the support of our elected officials here and our elected officials that represent us outside of the city of Opa-locka. So kudos to those individuals and thank you very much. Job well done. And I look forward to those funds being used in an expeditious manner to do some progress in regards to moving the city of Opa-locka forward in a positive way. Furthermore, I have been in a discussion with outside contractors to look at performing an assessment of various departments of the city. Those departments I am not going to name at this time, but we are looking at realistically evaluating every department within the city for its efficiencies and inefficiencies and ensuring that each director has the tools to do the best job they can on the best interest of the city and residents of Opa-locka. Assessments in my mind are not used to penalize employees, but to ensure that they have what they need to do better. And whatever areas that need improvement, we want to work with those employees to ensure they have all the resources possible, again, to do the best job they possibly can. Next commission meeting, hopefully there'll be a presentation by an outside entity to talk about how the outlook would be in regards to our building and licensing and code enforcement departments potentially being outsourced, how that would look. I wanted a presentation to be done before the commission prior to that coming before a vote. So hopefully that will occur at the next commission meeting. This manager has been doing the best job he possibly can on behalf of the residents and employees and stakeholders of the city of Opa-locka, and I will continue to do so as vigorously as I possibly can to ensure that we have what we need to be successful. But I always want to be fair. I always want to be equitable. I always want to be even-handed and not targeting or be one to target individuals, but look at systematic issues and put plans in place to fix those issues. I think that is key. Unfortunately, received notice 2 days ago that we'll be losing our full-time vaccination site and our full-time testing site in the city of Opa-locka, as well as Hard Rock and other places within the county. State-ran sites are being diminished. For vaccination sites, they're going to more of a mobile vaccination posture because of the drop-off in vaccinations and wanting to reach other underserved areas. They have assured me that Opa-locka will be serviced by a mobile vaccination site at least 3 to 4 days a week. They did provide a preliminary schedule that was put out yesterday, but hopefully that can be expanded. As we know, the state of Florida moving in a post-COVID-19 posture. In saying that, all meetings of the city commission, all workshops will be held in this building in a public setting per the governor's order with realistic transition in the next 2 months to looking at our options and how we serve our residents on a daily basis with ensuring that our staff and our residents are both still safe from the COVID-19. In saying that, I would like to thank everybody for their ongoing support. I'm always one that is humbled, but is honestly truly in a position to know that we've made great strides in the city. I know the relationships that I have built within the city and outside the city. I know the meetings that I have with individuals. I know the feedback that I get from individuals outside the city of Opa-locka about the progress that we're making as a city. In saying that, I want to apologize to our residents that they had to experience what occurred over the last month in regards to even having to be here to experience the potential separation of me and my employment or any other action upon me. I have plenty of room as a man and as an individual to do better. I always remain open to criticism. And I always remain open to stand for what's right, that I feel that's right in my heart, and doing the best job for this city. And some may agree to disagree in my methodology, and that's perfectly fine, but know that every action that I do take in my heart is for the best interest of the residents of the city and the stakeholders of this city. I truly, regardless of what occurred, respect every single person that is on this dais. And I do desire to move forward for the best interest of the residents and stakeholders of the city of Opa-locka. Because at the end of the day, if anything was to happen to me or any decision would be made, it would affect our residents, our stakeholders, and I don't want to see that occur. So I give my residents, my staff, and the stakeholders of this great city my word that I would do what I can as an individual to be the best man I can be and the best employee I can be to do the job of this great city. In saying that, our parks will be fully open on June 1st. Programming is forthcoming. Like I said, we're getting out of this post-COVID-19 era. We're gonna organize a summer camp, and we're gonna try to do the best services possible for our youth in the safest way possible. That concludes my report at this time, Mr. Mayor. I'll take any questions from the City Commission.
Any questions for the manager? Mr. Manager, for the sake of time, I do want to make sure we do get a few updates on the hurricane preparedness plan. We have a June 1st hurricane season. We'd like to know if you can send us in writing what we are doing to prepare for the flooding season. What is our hurricane preparedness plan? We can also get an update on the substation in Glorietta Gardens and also the bus benches. You can provide that in writing to us. That'll be beneficial.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. If I can be provided 1 week to do so, you will have a full detailed update in writing.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor Williams.
to the manager. Mr. Manager, Mr. Pate, I know earlier when we talked, you mentioned that there were staff that was on staggered rotation of employment, 2 days or 1 day on, 1 day off. Is that still happening in the city?
So I'm still evaluating the staffing plan, and I will be putting out an update of what we're going to do in regards to staffing prior to June 1st.
Okay, it's my hope and wish that we get our, be fully back into the building unless otherwise stated by Tallahassee or somewhere else. And also that would include the manager's office as well, so that we can, I will allow the other commission to speak, but I do think that at this point, we need to, the manager, the entire manager's office needs to be in the building, and the remote working needs to probably cease. Thank you.
I echo that sentiment, Vice Mayor.
Same here, Vice Mayor.
Anyone else on the manager? Do you have any official board reports?
No reports, Mr. Mayor.
All right, any future agenda items? All right, Mayor and Commissioner report.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Davis.
thank you. Really quickly, for the sake of time, I just want to touch on a few items that I've been working on. I know Vice Mayor Williams has taken the lead and blazing the storm as far as illegal dumping and just ensuring that our community no longer serves as an eyesore in the South Florida region. But over the past week, I had opportunity to meet with District 1, Vice Chairman Oliver Gilbert, in regards to the regular maintenance of our waterways and just putting something sustainable in place to ensure that we're not just ultimately using contingencies and kind of one-off opportunities to keep our waterways beautiful. The meeting was very productive. Mr. Austin, as well as the Assistant City Manager, Mr. Ellis, thank you, as well as the manager for attending the meeting. But a few things were brought up. Currently, we have an MOU with Miami-Dade County in regards to maintenance of our waterways. That MOU is actually set to expire in 3 years. It was a 5-year agreement. So ultimately, because waterways and kind of that regular maintenance of that specific aspect of our community is not included in the agreement, it was recommended that we either try to work within the existing agreement that's in place, or as a commission, perhaps sponsor legislation to amend the agreement, which ultimately has to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners to put something like that in place. So right now we're in the infant stages of moving along with something like that. Of course, eventually the item will come more than likely before the commission, and as I work to kind of progress through the issue. But I would like to share those efforts with Vice Mayor, because as many times as trash and kind of pollution and those sort of things end up in our waterways, oftentimes that activity originates on land. So it's usually a land kind of pollution issue, and then some sort of way it kind of ends up in the waterway. And I know Vice Mayor has profit items to ultimately incentivize our residents, to get involved and kind of mitigate some of the trash concerns that we have. So my hope is that Vice Mayor would like to partner on a public outreach or education component. It's very important that we incentivize, our residents to do the right thing, but equally as important, I think, education also needs to occur, and also a level of accountability, right? Because nobody's going to come in and, wave a magic wand and clean our community. Ultimately, it starts with us. So I see this, as a first step in moving in that direction, and I look forward to collaborating these efforts and working with the Vice Mayor to do so. So that's it for waterways maintenance. And I'm also proud to announce the work that Lieutenant, I think, Perez has been doing with the Police Explorer program, and that getting off the ground. as you know, I've been advocating for the reopening and going forth with that program to ensure that we are having meaningful youth opportunities and mentorship opportunities for our youth. So thank you, Perez, and all that you do. And I look forward to working with you as well as my colleagues to get our youth engaged and get some good mentorship opportunities within the city. So thank you. That will conclude my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. You got anything, Commissioner?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Couple things, and I'll be brief. Couple good things. This week is actually Police Appreciation Week. And this week we take our time to salute and honor our law enforcement officers here in the great city of Opa-locka. So we just want to tell you guys, job well done, and we thank you for everything that you have done for this city. Also, Bingo and Chill is this Friday at 6 p.m. So if y'all are not busy, we want you to come out and have fun with us. And the best news is that on Friday, Opa-locka will be turning 95 years old. We was established in May 14th, 1926. So in that night, we're gonna celebrate and we're gonna turn up for Opa-locka. Is that all right?
Awesome.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Vice Mayor?
A few things, definitely shout out to the Opa-locka Police Department. I also want to shout out my own resource officer at my own building, who is also amazing. I can go on and on about the Police Department of Opa-locka, the great city. You all have been there for me more ways than you can ever imagine. And when I see you, we always have this look like we know, but I thank you truly from the bottom of my heart. I thank all of you all that have been my rock and my support system. You know what I'm talking about. So moving on, we just had last Thursday, I believe it was. We had our Women of Many Hats dinner. Was a success. It was amazing. We honored, and I like to call it the unsung hero, the women of Opa-locka that we really don't bring out. We don't know. They own homes for 30 plus years. They're just kind of the come and go, the go to church, but they love Opa-locka and love this community. So it was so great to see the women enjoy themselves. Thank you to the commission that came, Commissioner Davis, Taylor and Burke. Thank you so much. Also to the city manager's office. Thank you to Ms. Lawson, to Ms. Ward, to Mr. Patterson for just all the assistance that you did, also with Ms. Mockin's office. So I just want to thank everyone for the Women of Many Hats, and I will be remiss if I do not thank, without a shadow of a doubt, Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, who provided some in-kind donation to make that happen, because we know she is definitely a woman of many hats.
Nice. Perfect.
I do have, like that play? I do have, tomorrow night, we have a Miami-Dade Fire Rescue informational meeting right here in Shabundi Park Village. Just calling out, I want to shout out or thank the Circle of Brothers who did some canvassing for me when I couldn't do it. Like amazing. Went door to door and printed flyers and just canvassed Opa-locka for me because they know I was working. So we hope that it's going to be successful. We know it's going to be successful. And our goal is to, get people in the workforce and get jobs. That's the number one goal. I do have, and I don't know if anyone else, I do have a statement I would like to read. I promise it won't be long, but if it is, just stop me. This statement was written actually last week, but I would be remiss if I didn't read it because I do want to make sure it's on record. So when I decided to run for office, there were no other reasons in my mind other than to do my part to bring a positive change to the residents of Opa-locka. And I believe and I know everyone, all my colleagues agree that that's why they ran for office. Anyone who knows me knows that my goals is to change the face, any negativity, and to highlight the good work we do and the great work that the commission does through all of the employees. However, never did I think I would have to stand witness to what has been transpiring between our leaders. I never thought in my few months on the dais I would be in a position to have to fire and possibly hire a new city manager. A city manager, quite frankly, who has been doing a good job for the city. That I wasn't prepared for. However, tonight I must set the record straight. I have not been pleased with how our city manager has treated, spoken to, or behaved towards our mayor. That behavior, in my opinion, is unacceptable. Because of the professional relationship that I've built with the city manager, he has allowed me to share my frustrations, impart wisdom, and allow himself to see leadership through a different lens. The city manager has apologized to the mayor, to the commission, and to the residents. It is my motto that I always say, you cannot see the picture while you're painting it. It is my hope and my prayer that we can begin healing and that we can get back to moving the great city of Opa-locka. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Before I make a statement or report, I do want to also echo the work that our colleagues and other elected officials have been doing on behalf of the city in securing over $1.3 million from the state. This is the first time in many years that we've received funding in regards to appropriations from the state. And there's a lot of work involved from many of people on this dais, the manager's office, our state representatives, and many friends that we have up there in Tallahassee. And the main goal was to focus on our police because during this time, there's been a lot of challenges to police in this area. There's an opportunity for us to build a police department and also have recreational programs for our residents. And everyone was in alignment in making sure that happens, even with our Congresswoman Frederica Wilson and securing the Shot Spotters program. So these are things that we have been advocating, and it's just a blessing and thankful that they are here for the city. And during next commission meeting, there will be a ceremony recognize the work of all those legislators and also a check being presented to this city. So we're looking forward to that. It's been coordinating with Senator Jones' office, and we want to invite Representative Bush, Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, and all those so that people can see all those that are working on behalf of this city moving forward. So I will also want to take a moment because I understand that I've been very passionate today about the challenges that we've been experiencing, and I personally have been experiencing in my role as mayor. This is a very hard job. And what makes it extremely hard, not only as a working full time, having a a wife and 3 kids, and also having to be mayor of a city, it's a lot. And as mayor, I'm only one of 5. There's nothing that any one of us can do individually as a commission, and it's all about us coming together as a team. I've had a lot of frustrations over the past year and a half in trying to do my job, in advocating and making sure that the people that elected myself, many of us, get a return on what they expect when they pay their tax dollars. And that passion to make sure things are getting done, hold the managers on account. And the reason why, because I know a lot of times people want to make this into a personal thing. As the elected official on this dais, all of our thoughts, desires, ideas, questions that we receive from citizens, from other people, have to be directed to the manager's office. Everything. So without that very professional relationship, very little can get done. And that has been a very serious challenge over these years. And Mr. Payton and I have had many conversations. This is not the first time of apology, but to me, it has crossed the line. And that is a line that, unfortunately, it's crossed the line. And I hope and pray that as we go through this evaluation process, as we move forward, these things are addressed and they do not continue. We are literally here just to do a job for the people. Simple as that. The professional drama and challenges is not necessary. It's not necessary. And I know I may be forceful and focused on making sure that our residents are respected and they get what they need out of this government. But we got a job to do. And we expect everyone to do their job here in this city. Because there are people who don't, there's a missed opportunity for our community. And our community has been neglected for far too long. So I'm not going to sit here and watch those things happen without bringing them to light. So as we go through these next few weeks, few months, we'll continue to make those moves and those changes. These things will be brought to light so that we're very clear on the service that we're getting from our employees and those that are here. And we want realistic change. The people out there wants to see clean streets, drivable roads. It's the basics. And every day that those aren't happening is something that people have to just don't feel good. And as a resident that's been here, a homeowner, we want a better city and we want it now. With that said, I also want to congratulate the new development that's happened in the Mirage Sailboat Cove. For those that are aware, we have over 100 units of lakefront property that is affordable housing that we just cut a ribbon to, and they're open and available. And I encourage everyone to please take the time to spread the word about these amazing rental units so that we can bring in new people that can have an amazing waterfront property here in the city of Opa-locka. So with that, let's move forward. Let's move forward as a community and as a commission and do what we have to do the people's business. board appointments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Commissioner Taylor,
Second.
second by Commissioner Davis. Everyone have a good evening. Take care.